All right, we're going to go live here as you attendees come in. Oh, Chris, I started it 3 seconds ago. You haven't missed anything. I was waiting for
I'm so
the
sorry. I was on Dave Savage's 10X Tuesday call and yeah, I still left early.
well, thank you.
But
Thank
Happy
you
New
for
Year's.
coming. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. And thank you to the people that have already gotten in the attendee area of this call. This is always a weird time of the year. Yeah, it's like your Christmas spirity, December 1st to 26th, we'll say Boxing Day, and then it's like, what am I doing? Where who am I? Where's my family? Like the 26th to the 30th or 31st. So
It
we're in
is
a very weird time of the year. Appreciate people joining. Kristen, how are you?
good. It is my favorite time of year. I love that period of time where you're just like, wait, nothing is real right now. You can just take a breather and kind of reflect on the last year. And I'm doing lots of strategic planning for the next year. And it just feels like a little bit of a quiet space. So,
Maybe that's
yeah.
for you. I was told calories don't count, but I'm thinking they do actually. And it was funny that for the people that are here, the show that we're going to do today is a recap of this whole year of Mortgages with Millennials. Try and keep it to 30 minutes. But the sad part of it is I'm looking at videos of me from back in January and February. I'm like, when did I get so old? I'm looking in the mirror now. I'm like,
Oh
I must have been so
no.
good 10 months ago. Maybe it's just a haircut. I think it might just be a haircut away from looking good. Who knows? But it's certainly been a fun year uh, for Mortgages with Millennials. We want to thank our sponsors up here. Form Free, TMC, A&D Mortgages is a sponsor, and of course, National MI. Thank you to all of you for helping make this possible. And it was pretty neat. Like I alluded, I went back and watched the videos from throughout the year. And what Kristen likes to do, which I think is very cool, very endearing, is she likes to say, where are people calling in from? So if people could chime in the chat today with where you're calling in from. I know Kristen likes that. I like doing it every
I
once in
do.
a while too. Salt Lake
I
City.
am calling
Ashley,
in.
I love the consistency of Ashley as an attendee. Ashley, I have to say thank you for
No.
being a loyal attendee.
Hey,
Alaska, Des,
Alaska.
Des Moines, holy smokes, Maryland, Oklahoma. This is like
I
making a
am
holiday. Look at the smile.
calling in from Minnesota today.
You are?
Different. Yeah.
What? Usually Oklahoma or LA. What's out in Minnesota for
Yeah.
you?
My best friend lives here, so came here for that week of before real life starts again.
Very nice. And
Where are
you're
you?
I'm out on the California coast. I just spent the last month and a half in Manhattan, and normally I would come back to warmer weather sooner, but I wanted to do kind of the Christmas lights in New York City, which was fun. We got a snow day for Christmas Eve, so that was cool to wake up and like Central Park was covered in snow. Uh,
Oh,
I enjoyed it a lot. And the other cool thing, like being out, and I have a pretty I live in a pretty rural part of California with this house I'm remodeling. The sun goes down at like 5:30 or 6. I go to bed at like 6:30 or 7. So it was nice being in New York City where like you're stimulated into the night. You don't feel like you need to go to bed so early. The seasonal
wait, are
depression.
you kidding? You go to bed at 6:30 or 7?
I got to get my beauty rest. I was looking at how that.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
last night. What time did I go to bed last night? 8:30. 8:30
Oh
last night.
man.
Monday Night Football ended. I'm out. I don't.
Wow. I love that. I go to bed at like 10, but I can't fall asleep till 11. I don't know. It seems early to me, but maybe I'll try even earlier.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm like a summer person. Hit it hard in the summer when the days are long, and then winter. Not so. Plus, I wake up early. I'm up before 5 a.m. every day to work on the
Right.
newsletter, the podcast. And so if I don't get a nap, it's bedtime for baby shortly after sunset. Uh, yeah. So we would like to tell people we are going to keep doing this in 2025. Maybe we'll have a little preview toward the end of the show. Very, very pleased because I don't think I could do this with anybody but Kristen. Uh, we're greater than the sum of our individual parts, and she's certainly the part that has a weightier sum than I do. So very excited. She's gonna keep
Thank you, Robbie. This
continuing
is
doing
kind of
this.
fun here.
Uh, but as I've teased a couple times now, so we'd like to go through kind of what we talked about throughout 2024 and identify some trends. And if we have time at the end, I'll do a market update. Certainly been interesting. See what rates have been doing lately. Then we'll talk about what to look forward to for 2025. 5. And Kristen, you got my notes on this?
Did I get your notes?
Yeah, I sent you like summaries of all the shit. No, you check your email.
It's all a surprise to me, I
All right,
guess.
let's do it. We'll wing it here. So I'll be the prompter and Kristen. So
Okay.
I'd like for us to do kind of an insight or a takeaway from the shows or what we remember about the show. So uh, we kicked off the year. It was actually Joe Soto and Melissa Langdale talking about connecting with the millennial demographic in the real estate and mortgage industry. And now that I'm reading this, I'm like, maybe the show will pick up as time goes on because that seems so long ago that I'm like, what happened in the show? And probably have a recency bias in my brain. But we talked about marketing tips, education techniques, and advice for building strong, lasting relationships with millennials. Uh, Communication, personalized service. And you know, we've really tried to make it where we can give all of you viewers tips for relating with the younger generation and winning business of the younger generation. And I've learned things myself from having some of these fantastic guests on. But Kristen, anything from Joe and Melissa's episode that stuck out to you? Maybe you're searching
Well,
your
I
email.
just found your notes, so
There you go.
I can catch up here. Um, yeah, so I mean, I was just on a call right before this with Joe, and it is interesting to think about the, how long ago that was, but I think, what hasn't changed is the fact that communication is so important. And I think a lot of those strategies that were talked about are going to be even more critical in 2025. So while it's been a long time, I do think it would be still relevant for people to check out that episode. And what we were just talking about, what I was just talking about with Joe, was how important it is to be adding value, and you will see that come back, But people talk over and over, the high producers that I know, about how they are leading with education, delivering, being responsive. That kind of and if you can align your values with what you're doing, and it's just kind of that season to be thinking about that, I think you're going to set yourself up really well for the next year.
Yes. And I was reminded, it might not have been on that show specifically, but when it comes to building content and building branding, connecting with people, YouTube is the number one way to go. I was like, which blew my mind when we heard that step, but I always thought, it's, hey, maybe it's TikTok if you're really going for a younger generation. Maybe it's Instagram with the content. You can create reels there. They allow for longer videos now than they used to. Turns out it's YouTube. And that's because it's this evergreen content repository that's right there. And you can share it to all the other platforms pretty easily from YouTube. So for people
Yeah,
looking,
I'm curious. We're about to do our 2025 Next Gen Home Buyer Report, but in 2024, which we talked about at that time, was we found, and we found this the year before too, that video is just continuing to rank at the top of where people want to learn. And YouTube, of course, is a great way to do that. And I always think, when I saw that, I think I talked about how, like, I was surprised, but then when I think about how I learn, I'm YouTubing stuff, and we're gonna scroll through things, but I think it's important to have some kind of presence there. So
yeah. The video thing is taking off. I hate that the motif of today's episode is me feeling like I'm getting old, whether it's going to sleep early or looking in the mirror,
millennials
whatever.
getting old is a thing. So
Yeah, it is. I uh I know I'm getting old because my friends will send me reels on social media. And I'm like, I remember when it was just pictures with text, and I like the pictures with the text. I don't like this time commitment to watching a video. I can look at a picture on my own time. So
I
I know
know,
but I'm trying to stay up to
changing.
speed with some of this chat GPT and other things, which we'll get into with some of our guests from later in the year. So let's keep it rolling here. We were joined in February by Brent Chandler of Form Free, Malcolm Wiley, Floyd of Stairs Financial, and Tony Wilbert of Home Run to discuss some of these new age solutions for mortgage. And I'd actually, with this episode, I'd love to hear from people in the chat what they think the future of home buying technology looks like. And just to kind of, refresh your memory, Form Free is doing this Ricky kind of like borrow, like a borrower passport, where you can have all your information secured in one place and you can shop like that. Home Run is doing basically like an Expedia or Kayak or Hotwire for mortgages, where you can get a true transparent marketplace. People in the chat, what do you think the future of mortgage origination could look like? Do you see the industry condensing? Do you see people's data becoming that much more valuable where they're getting paid for it? I mean, Kristin, maybe what's your thought about what we could see with the future of the mortgage industry?
I mean, I think we are at, and I know I've heard this said so many times, we're at such a pivotal time and all of that, but I mean, you think about the progression of technology and what consumers are expecting today, and it's speeding up. And John said LO is being replaced by ChatGPT for online channels. I don't think that's happening, but I do think people are going to be using chatbots a whole lot more. We're going to be, expecting the ability, like the channel for being able to transparent marketplace. That kind of stuff should already exist, and it does, but it's so it should be much more mainstream. And I think we're going to continue to see more of that come up, making it easier, but we're still going to want to have somebody to talk to like an advisor to be able to make the right choices.
I have a couple notes on that chatbot thing. The first
Mhm.
part, it's a chatbot's great, I guess, if it can increase your productivity as an originator. We need to be careful that companies are going to be held liable for whatever chatbots say. So rather than thinking this is just going to roll out, there's a lot of stuff when it comes to regulation or worrying about the CFPB that need to go into this chatbot service before it does become
But
automated.
you can
And
train it.
I'll piggyback on what Kristin said too. I don't think that, especially for the largest purchase in anyone's entire lifetime, they're going to want to deal with a chatbot. Chatbots can get pretty good, don't get me wrong, but also you can tell when it's a human. You can tell when somebody is able to think like feel like a human, has your best interests and understand them at their core. Uh, and so I don't think we'll see that necessarily go away. I would say though, to kind of agree with John there, as an originator, you should be getting on this productivity wave. How can I let AI help make me more productive so that I do have more time for things on the personal side or things that are worth me spending time on rather than trying to compose emails, long emails, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of ways that AI can really help. And
We're getting ahead of ourselves comes later in the year. So
yes, true. Let's see. I'm just looking at the chat here. Ashley says hyper personalization. I agree. I've thought that companies should have a high touch, low touch, like choose your path. I used to hate it. I remember the first mortgage I applied for. I applied and immediately I got a phone call, which a lot of companies would think that's great. We hit up the customer in the first 15 seconds, and I was like, ignore. When they called again, I was like, ignore. Like I don't want to talk to a person right now. So I think more customized paths for originating loans could be really important going into the future. We've seen some of that stratification. Uh, AI powered marketplaces, she says. I agree. Interact with AI platforms that can give you good products and that sort of thing. Uh, that's good. Adam's company uses chatbots to set appointments, qualify bar. Yeah, look, unlike the digitization of mortgage, which it seems like we've been talking about for 10, 15 years, or remote online notarization, which has been talked about for 5 or 6 and hasn't been adopted. AI is here. And it's evolving so rapidly that you are at risk of getting kind of left behind if you don't at least try to incorporate some of these processes into your origination strategies or your everyday life. It's a huge production tool. I know, Kristin, you know that better than I do for sure. It can make your day so much easier.
yeah, it really, I mean, and even if you're just starting out with some basic conversation with ChatGPT to help you, I don't know, just improve the way you're thinking about things, you can use it as a partner. But the point is, we are moving forward as a society, and with, technology and AI, and it's important that you stay connected in some way. So I think consumers, as Ashley had it just right on point with the hyper personalization, and ultimately I do believe that we want as consumers to have that kind of personalization, to have the AI marketplaces, all of that kind of stuff continue to grow. But again, we are going to want to have somebody who we can trust to help talk us through it once we get past that initial phase of just researching, just playing around with technology, that kind of stuff. And so you want to be setting yourself up as, building your brand as someone they could talk to, not someone who's just going to make the decision or someone who's going to fulfill the transaction. that makes you not very valuable, but if you're sharing valuable videos and talking about education, I'm going to feel more comfortable going to you to have a conversation when I'm ready.
Yes, very well put. The show is flying by here, so I'm going to try and pick things up.
I
The
know
next,
we could really get stuck.
well, we'll see. We'll see how we do here. There was a couple where like I left you hanging, and we could just forget like those months ever happened. So
Yeah, we had some highs and lows.
yeah, we did. Uh, it was mostly like you're an angel, and I'm the one who is no good. Oh, you're not dressed. You're not dressed
Wait, in
nicely
his
enough.
note,
Oh,
in
you said
Robbie's notes here, it's that June says, I left you hanging. That's good, yeah. But
yeah.
we made it through, and our attendees were really gracious, and we had a good conversation. So
Yes.
made
Um, okay. Well, March, and I know this month was near and dear to your heart. We had John Lawless, who's head of homeownership for Built Rewards, and actually occasionally co-hosts Monday Chrisman commentary show Now Next Later with Jeremy Potter. We also had Niles Lichtenstein, CEO of Nestment, on to talk about innovative strategies that allow for various ways to purchase a home. This co-buying concept, which I'm going to cede the floor to you, Christian. You're much more well versed on it than me. Just thoughts on co-buying and what it can mean for younger
Well,
people.
what I'll say about it is just that it is, I think, the way of the future. I mean, the average age of a first-time home buyer this year was 38, and that's jumped from 35, which in previous decades was late 20s, early 30s for many years. And now suddenly we're just the affordability is so out of control. And as a first-time home buyer, if I can understand different ways of coming together, of whether it be down payment assistance programs or co-buying where you can join with a friend or a group of people and buy a property together, we're going to need structures like Nestament has, and other companies have ways of structuring that and providing the legal, agreements and things like that to make it easier. But that's going to be a huge way of the future, I think, to allow first-time home buyers into the market.
Yes. Home hacking in general. And and looking at the episodes we did this last year, there's ones from the year before that really stuck with me in terms of how can we home hack? We had that one guest on that was like, yeah, I lived in my garage and rented out the house to other people. Then I built an ADU in the back. Like there's a lot of creative ways out there. Or you even look at
Yeah.
like DSCR financing where you're just qualifying based on expected cash flows. You put down low down payments, qualify based on expected
Yeah.
cash flows. There's some really nice ways that people can get into the homeownership game if they want to. And I
And
should,
that's something that I would say for everyone on the call, like talking about that's what consumers can't get from just, you know, I don't know, like searching on their own a lot of times. We need to understand what are those other opportunities. And it's going to, while there's a lot of people that are just going to be priced out, there's a lot of people that would be ready that don't understand they have the potential there. So good
and
YouTube
even
video.
as a former capital markets person, I will say this: push your capital markets departments to try and incorporate some of these new and innovative products. A lot of these things can be white labeled these days. These companies are used to doing white label things with whatever originator they're actually working with. Uh, more people in homes, more ways to get people in homes, more product selection is going to make you look good. So yeah, lobby your capital markets people. Uh, would you co-buy a home, Kristen?
I kind of did. I
Or are
bought
you
a
on TIC?
into a
Yeah.
tenants in common, yeah. But I have my own space, whatever. But I think if it had been 10 years ago, I would have absolutely co-bought a home. But
Yeah.
we're an elder millennial now, so
I know a lot we can learn. I'm on my second home, but this is the first renovations I've done. And what am I now? I'm 26, 27 months into a remodel. I'd take off my virtual
wow.
background. There's sawdust and scaffolding. And so, yeah, you learn over time. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about that. Let's move on to the next month here. Uh, and it was actually a really interesting conversation with Christy Beck of Crusoe Homes. She also was with the Raleigh Wake County Home Builders Association. And we had Sky Laudari, who's also a Northern California resident like myself, uh, of Crib Equity to talk about making homeownership more affordable and building these affordable products. Uh, this seems like it's been, I don't even know what, it's not the elephant in the room, but it's just a huge pain point is this dearth of building out there. Like, how do we get more units? How can we do that? Home builders have been building below historical averages for the last decade now, even knowing that there's this, mismatch in supply and demand. Uh, so Kristin, thoughts on either stuff from that show or ways that you think that we could get more?
Well, just again, talking about that, that's another episode where we're talking about unique ways that are outside of, I think, the traditional norm to make housing more affordable, or home ownership, I guess, more affordable. And so I think looking at even crib equity, it was another example. It's not co-buying, but it's like it's a form that people are now, thinking outside the box of ways that we can start to bring first-time home buyers into the market.
Yes. All right, I'm realizing we're gonna have to go rapid fire here a little bit. So maybe one
Yeah.
second for each of us on some of this. Uh, I missed May. I missed May, and I left you hanging in June. You co-hosted with Jeremy Potter in May. You had originators Armando Novello and Pinky Shaw on, talk about promoting their brand, talk about targeting first-time homebuyers. Any takeaways from that show that you can recall?
Gosh, yeah, May, Armando and Pinky were just giving, strategies. I thought that was super, super practical. Like, I think Armando talked about doing realtor presentations and how his approach around that. But I don't remember specifically, just it was all about first-time home buyers. So I would recommend watching that if you're looking for ideas for the next year. And just, skip through to where they're talking about those. June, I did kind of a webinar because that was also one where I couldn't hear from the audience. So it was a bit, oh, but I had just released the Psychology of Money report. I would not say, yes, absolutely go watch that, but we talked about the what I would recommend is if you haven't taken the Psychology of Money the quiz, that's where I kind of talked through some of the results, and you can find that through just taking the quiz yourself. So I'll drop the
I
link for
remember
that.
taking, I took a different one of your quizzes and I did not score well. So we just didn't talk about it on the show. It was like basic question for first time home buyers, but we'll push that aside. Nikki, I'm so glad you asked this question, where the past episodes stored at. Uh, and I was realizing right before Kristin came on, we have all these sponsors. I should have put a next gen home buyer logo up here. The research, Kristin's contribution has been integral. So I'll try and do that with our next virtual background. Uh, the first half of the year's episodes can be found Next Gen Homebuyer. Google it, nextgenhomebuyer.com.
IQ has been a blessing.
Sorry,
Oh,
I was trying to find a link to those episodes, and I'm going to drop it. But
okay, cool. Yeah,
but
the
yeah,
first half of the year can be found Next Gen Homebuyer. The second half of the year, and this is why we had problems in June with Kristin not being able to talk to people. We switched over to where I'm now hosting it, and you can find things on the Chrisman Commentary YouTube channel. Either go to chrismancommentary.com, you can find videos there, or search it on YouTube. I think if you search mortgages with millennials, it comes up pretty high on YouTube, but I think there's some other companies that are trying to steal our title. Maybe we should trademark it here at some point. Anyways, moving forward, uh, June, yes, had trouble chatting with the people. I left you hanging there. July was actually one of my favorite. July was one of my favorite episodes, and that was because each of Kristin and myself got to bring on like a high school teacher to talk about the ways that they're teaching financial literacy in high school. Uh, and I don't want to choose favorites, but that was like, if you want to go watch an episode, I think there was some cool stuff in there. And it probably doesn't necessarily pertain to your borrowers right now, but it goes to talk about, just kind of the psychology of financial literacy education in America. And uh, some places are doing it better than others. There's a lot of variance there. Chris, takeaways from talking with those high school teachers?
yeah, I absolutely loved that episode. I mean, it's core to the heart of our mission at First Home IQ. And but hearing from high school teachers about how students are thinking about financial literacy and homeownership, I think was super interesting. So that was a fun episode.
Yes, very fun.
And I did drop the link to the episodes, and I was looking at January or something. I look way younger too.
Been a stressful year for all of
I
us,
was like so
apparently.
distracted for a second because, yeah, man, I think I've got some New Year's resolutions coming.
I don't know how to send the actual playlist.
Oh,
Um,
did it not send the
no,
playlist?
no, 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 no. I'm talking about for me. So here's what I'm gonna do.
Oh,
I'm
for
gonna
you.
post, this was our most recent episode with Michael. Oh, we posted to everybody, not just hosts and panelists. Uh, this is our most recent episode with Michael Vandy. You should be able to find the rest of the playlist videos on there if you click that link. There's a bunch of stuff. Go check it out. The next episode, which I'll speak to very briefly because you were feeling sick. So you didn't join. I was met with Michael Pearson, A&D Mortgage, talk about technological innovations, which I think we'll wrap into some AI stuff here. So we'll kind of skip that. Let's get to another one of our favorite episodes. This episode had me smiling the whole time. And hopefully people don't think I'm putting on some salesy thing. I really was when Nuria Rivera joined us. And I learned so much from her, both about her journey, both about the ways that she interacts with some of the Hispanic community, the larger, younger community. Kristin, I'm rambling. Go, but I'll say some
No,
stuff.
also just super practical information about understanding and better reaching and serving the Latino market. She talked a lot about Latino millennials, her own immigrant story, which was super inspiring. She's a really inspiring, motivating, and also like practical person to watch and get. She talked about some of the Hispanic Wealth Project statistics that were talking about how fast growing this segment is and how crucial it is for everyone to be paying attention and better understanding. So,
And my big takeaway, this is going to be very unhelpful to listeners. I'm sorry. My big takeaway was you can't stereotype a certain race into they have certain tendencies. It was like, oh, well, generations live with other generations. It's like, not necessarily the case. I know a lot of single Latinos that are buying. I know a lot of people that are just got married and are buying together that are moving away from their families. Like, so you can't necessarily stereotype a race.
yeah.
Which, like you
But
said,
understanding some of the trends, well, like whether some of them are stereotypical or not, understanding where they're coming from is going to help everyone, and just being able like Hispanic, Latinos, and Asian families are more likely to have multi-generational households. And it's not because they're, stuck at home with mom living in the basement. It's because that's like what's normal to contribute to the household, to the family. So, yeah.
so super interesting episode. Just like I wanted to start, so we've done this like expansion of Chrisman shows. This is one of them. I wanted to do like a This Mortgage Life with Jeremy Potter actually, and Nuria would be a great guest to have on. I think some of the
Mm.
interest side of people that work in the industry is overlooked a lot of time when people have incredible stories and backgrounds, and so maybe look for that in 2025.
That'd be so good.
We're gonna go for another couple minutes here, not too long. Won't keep you for the full 45. Which side note, I used to have an old boss that was like would end meetings like 3 minutes early, and he'd be like, "I'll give you back 3 minutes in your day," and he was fully serious, and I was just like, "I cannot stand you at all right now." So I hate when people are like, "I'll give you back some time in your day." Oh, you're welcome. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Well, so we closed the year with back-to-back episodes about AI, which I'm like very saturated talking about. I feel like I've talked about it ad nauseum, but it is so important for people to hear these discussions, have these discussions, figure out ways to incorporate it. In October, we had Intuit Credit Karma's Arun Mohan for an incredible conversation. November, equally as incredible with Addy AI's Michael Vandy. Couple of nerds, but they're like great. It was so great talking to them, and I learned so much. There's so much more beyond Chat GPT. There's so many ways to incorporate in your life. Kristin, I think you're more of an expert on this than me. What were your takeaways from the most recent
Oh
two?
man, I mean, I absolutely loved those episodes. I think the first like talking to Arun, hearing more about the more like some of the ways that they're using AI to expand mortgage products and talking about what AI means. I think we looked at it a little bit bigger picture, and with Michael, we looked at some really practical like here's how to talk to AI. Here's some things that you can use to free tool for how to learn about some of like ask questions about regulatory policy or some of the like questions about the laws that you might need to know. And so I thought it was really helpful having those back to back, and I kind of want to watch them again. So
Yeah, you should. Yeah, click. I think it's over there. Click the link over there that I put for the YouTube.
Oh, and we had a good rec from Adam that there was a 60 Minutes. I haven't watched it last Sunday night about AI. So maybe that's, if anyone's
Check that out,
interested.
people. So I'm going to give people in the chat one more chance here, and please comment. I really want to hear this. What would you like to see us talk about more in 2025? We just ran through 2024. I think we had actually a really good, I mean, this, to toot my own horn, I think we had a really good mix of kind of like what's going on with products, what's going on with home building and affordability, or ways to kind of hack that system, what's going on with technological innovations, what's going on with branding as an originator, how can I originate more? There's a good swath of things we covered, but we do this for you, the viewers. It's for you. So what can we do that would give you the most value? Uh, and I guess, Kristin, I'll stall
Yeah.
on the time here, and I'll say to you, we transition more towards AI at the end. What do you expect in 2025? What do you feel like is important, especially to the younger generations?
Yeah, I mean, looking back over the last year, I'm like, man, I love the variety of topics, and I almost feel like hitting on all of those topics again is going to, like, as we continue to talk about housing affordability, practical strategies to reach first-time home buyers, that type of thing, products. I think that will continue to change and grow, and we need to continue to touch on it. But I would be really curious what you guys as an audience are thinking about, what your questions are coming into the next year, what your goals are, and maybe we can start to align those, our episodes with what you are, working on. So,
Look at that.
yeah,
Crickets in the chat. You'll love to see it. Well, here, let me
crickets
do
in
this.
the chat.
If Kristin, let's drop our emails in there.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Maybe some
info
time to
at
think about it.
info@chrismancommentary.com, Kristin at kristinmesserli.com. Nikki, thank you for chatting us throughout the day. Say
Affordability.
affordability. Yes, we will promise to talk about affordability and also some of these niche angles for how can we, find ways to make things more affordable that might not just be, hey, rates come down, or down payment assistance, something like that, some innovative ways. Email us. I never get feedback on these shows. Maybe it's Robbie, you talk too much. Kristin's way smarter. Like, give me critical feedback's great. But we're gonna let everybody go for today. Once
Great,
again,
we've got some input though. Finding ways to bridge first-time homebuyers into deferred maintenance, housing using rehab mortgage loans. I have been hearing more about rehab mortgage loans recently. How can we support our realtors? Barn dominiums.
barndominiums, baby. Ooh.
I was like, what is that word?
Well, Adam, look, if you know an expert on barndominiums, send them our way. Love to talk to them for you. But yes, this has been really good. I was gonna say a big thank you to our sponsors throughout the year. You can see them above us: Mortgage Collaborative, Form Free, A&D Mortgage, National MI. Big thank you to them. A huge thank you to Kristin for being an excellent co-host. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. We really are here to try and provide you value. We value your feedback and want to do right by you. Kristin, I'm going to send you the chat transcript after we get
Oh,
off.
good.
It's like
Yeah.
Dawn talked about alternate property types. Any closing words before we say goodbye for the year?
Just also, of course, so thank you to you keeping this show. I mean, you have really, I think, been such a huge growing leader in this industry, and it's exciting to be a part of this and having these conversations. I am, over the next week, where I think a lot of us are really thinking about what our values are, where our goals are over the next year, and I'll be thinking about ways that we can continue to align the show with what the future holds for the industry. So if anyone has any additional thoughts or questions, please reach out. But we're looking forward to the next year.
Yes. Thank you. Very kind words. I don't know if you saw the smile on my face. I don't know when I talk on these Zoom calls, I don't know what I look at. I don't look at you. I don't look at me. I just kind of zone out. But I was smiling big when you said that. So thank you. Huge, very appreciative of that. And we will see everybody in 2025.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye.